Pope Benedict in Rome, even though I'm a Protestant, so-called. But I'm going to say things about myself to let you know and to share with you what it means to be a person of color in America when things don't go right, but that doesn't stop you from doing the right thing. Now, I had December 7th, 1941. Now, everybody here has a relative or friend that was affected by the fact of December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. Everybody knows December 7th in 9/11, which is secondary. Now, it was at 10 o'clock. We were going to church, and you know, when you go to church, it's a routine. You just get up and go. So on the radio, we heard President Roosevelt say, "We have been attacked by the Imperial Kingdom of Japan." My mother said, "Wait a minute. America is at war. I want you boys to serve your country. I want you boys to serve your country." Can you imagine a black woman saying to the only thing she had in her life was her two sons? I want you boys to serve your country. And this is what we did. I had my high school diploma in hand, went to the Fuller building. I don't think anyone here is old enough to remember the Peter Fuller Cadillac building on Commonwealth Avenue. And if you were going into the Navy or the Marines, you went to the Fargo building. The Fargo building still is doing their thing. Now, can you imagine a black woman, and I have to be candid, we're here brothers, we can talk and we can say things just as it is. We went to the Fuller building on Com Ave, high school diploma in hand. A man in a white coat, I don't know if he was a doctor or not, but he said, "Walk across the room." So I walked across the room, and when I came back, he had a paper, and he stamped, "Accepted." That was my physical exam in World War II. So proudly I went with my high school diploma and my letter of acceptance, enlistment in the United States Army. And I was proud to do that. Now, before we left, it was our custom in the black community, when people would see you, a young person going off, they'd reach in their pocket or their pocketbook and they'd slip $2 or $3 in your pocketbook, in your hand, and they say, "Son, this is what I can give you, and I hope you come back." So I was able to leave South Station with $12 in my pocket. $12 in my pocket. And I was proud to have my uniform. It meant something. And in those days, when you walked through the streets of your community, if you weren't in uniform, you were full of F. you were considered nobody. So in our community, everyone served our country. Now, I left all my high school friends, Boston English High. Any Boston English High guys here? Well, no, whatever. It was okay. No, I'll tell you what. English High School and all Boston high schools, we had military drill. And there was no question about this racial stuff that's going on. If your name was John Smith and you were a clown, you were a clown. That color was not an issue. So we all were on the train, Boston to Chicago. We were all joking, and some of us had our first beers, and we were happy. We were gonna solve the world's problems. We were gonna kill 99 Germans and come back and get all kinds of medals. This is what we were thinking at 17. We were happy to serve our country. Boston, Chicago, no problem. Chicago, St. Louis, no problem for me. However, as we were pulling out of the station in St. Louis, I heard a voice, "Get off the train." So we were all laughing and joking. I was the only black guy in the coach from our class. Get off the train. I didn't know, did any of us realize who he was talking about? So a conductor came up to me, tapped me not too gently off the shoulder, in our uniform, "Get off the train." Now, does everyone here know Archie Bunker?
Yes.
That's his brother. So I had to get off the train with my duffel bag. You know what duffel bags are? That's everything you have in the world. So I helped my friends. We said goodbye. I don't know, we didn't know what was going on then, but we said, goodbye. I got off the train, $14 in my pocket, $14, 17, St. Louis, black, in about 2,000 miles from home. So when I got on the area, not the platform, but where the walkway is, where people board and exit the train. So I'm standing out there in the train station. Train station in St. Louis was empty. I was standing up there alone. So a black porter comes up to me and says, "Son, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm on orders. I'm going to Wichita Falls from Texas." Anyone here from Texas? Okay, nothing personal. These are facts. "Son, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm on orders. I'm going in the Army." He says, "Well, we don't ride that train." I said, "What?" I said, "I'm coming from Boston." So he said, "Well, have you ever been south before?" I said, "Yeah, I've been to New York." He said, "I don't mean that." He said, "This is the deep south side, and we don't ride that train. And there's a Negro spiritual. We don't ride that train no more." That's a spiritual. So he said, "Well, you hungry?" I said, Yeah. Well, I had $14 in my pocket, but I could not use the lunch counter at that time because it was closed. You know, I mean, train station was closed until the train for black people came on in 7 hours later. And that train stopped at every village and hamlet. Smoke, coal, filled soot covered my uniform. And I was there on the train. I got to my train station, to my duty assignment, about 8 hours late. My uniform was sooty, smelling, you know, I was really embarrassed with myself. Because we had always taught to show up on time, be punctual, we know be neat, be presentable. So now if you know Archie Bunker, his twin was my welcoming NCO officer. And of course, I tried to explain the reason I was about 8 hours late, or incidentally, to get from the train station, I had to hitch a ride on a truck with a black family that was coming through. I couldn't pay them. They said, well, son, you know, we don't do that here. So they drove me directly to the post gate. And of course, I had a little discussion how I was coming in there late with a duffel bag and, you know. So, if you know Archie Bunker, his brother was the DI welcoming me into our United States Army. Well, that's episode 1. I'm gonna give you 3 or 4, I'm just sharing things with you to let you know that why I'm here with my brothers is I believe in the human spirit. I believe that right will become the dominant feature in the arc of justice. Now, to hear a person like me say that, my portfolio has decreased $9 million, as you can imagine. Other things happening, but if I can have a positive spirit, you can have a positive spirit. And whatever I say or do, it's not about what I went through, but I want to share what I went through so I can encourage you. You know, I've known Masons all over, Robert Gardner Wilson and the legends, but I didn't enroll because at that time I was out doing other things. But I'm here now to share with you, and by sharing, to make us all better. I want all of us to be better when we leave here. And happenstance would put me beside this character here, who was my real brother, going back before we even knew we were brothers. Norwich man, and when my first meeting, I noticed the way he did about face. And every military person knows, I mean real military, we always watch a person when they do about face. It's one smooth movement. I practice it every day, but I don't want to embellish my abilities. The other incident was when I went to OCS, and for some reason, the commander of the 332nd Fighter Group, Tuskegee Airman Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., West Point class of 1936. For some reason, he took to me, and he sent me to the most prestigious finance course, which is like the Harvard B School for Army and military accounting. And in that school, I was the first lieutenant, and there were captains, majors, and one light colonel. Now that course, I wondered why he sent me. There were the fighter pilots that went over with him, and this was 45 or 46. He selected me for some reason. Well, I had met him before when his wife's father was a dentist in New Haven on the outskirts of Harvard. And on the outskirts of Yale, New Haven, Connecticut. Any net makers here? All right, I don't know Paul. Did you raise your hand, Commander? Okay.
No, sir.
You look very distinguished back there. I have to confess, my friend here said you were an admiral. Maybe he promoted you.
I think we can disabuse him.
Well,
Just abuse him.
The thing about Colonel B.O. Davis Jr., why I was a paymaster. Why do you need a paymaster? There's a finance office open on all installations, open 8 till 5 or 4. What do you need a paymaster for? We needed a paymaster because when we would send our men out for TDY, Keystone, Mississippi, Myrtle Beach, Atterbury, the first of the month, it's a litany, everyone is paid. The first of the month, everyone is paid. What would happen? Some of our men would be down in Miss Keesler, I'm just mentioning fields, no, they're not at random, these were actual cases, where our men would go up first of the month, 10 or 12 on their break, and the finance office would be closed. Or come back at 6 o'clock. Or, can you imagine, this was the most incredulous thing. The finance office is out of money. So, Colonel Davis insisted that every one of his airmen were paid the first of the month, like every other military person that was in the military. The other thing was, and you find out things as you get older, why did he send me? I mean, I had a decent education, but it's what I call karma. How things happen to you, you don't know what happened. You don't know why it happened. But you were there, you were presentable, you were honest and ethical. I'm perhaps the only lawyer in the country that has never sued a client for non-payment. I'll send out a letter the second time. If I didn't hear from you, you didn't hear from me. I figured you needed it more than I did. That's, you know, the preacher's kid coming out with me. See? So, the other reason was, which was really crucial, was a graduate of the Army Finance School, was upon completion, you were able to obtain an appropriation number. And I got the number for the base. Now, if a base commander wants to extend the runway 2,000 feet, it's gonna cost $800,000. Okay, he just can't say I request such and such for such and such amount of money. He needs his appropriation number. And with that number, you can know the amount and now, you know, everything goes on with around 20 numbers and X's and dashes, but that number is key. So I was able to get that number for the base. So when I came back, we've all been on TDY someplace. So when you come back, I did fairly well in the course. I'll tell you why I was able to get a decent, well, one of the top grades. Well, I'll tell you the reason now. I checked into the BOQ at Camp Lee. Anyone been to Camp Lee? I know some people have been to Camp Lee for some reason or another. That is the quintessential officers club. You know, white linen napkins and the words, the Metro D and so forth. So I was standing, I had no trouble signing into the BOQ, no problem. So I went over to the O Club. Of course, you know, I shine my shoes and, you know, police myself up and your brother didn't look too bad. He was the best dressed first lieutenant there, trust me. So I saw people coming, ordering, eating, leaving. Come, eat, leave, and I'm still standing up there at the Metro D station. So I called for the club manager, real professional guy, you know, looked the part. So he was halfway across the room, and you know how you can focus and laser in on eyes that are approaching you, and you know why they're coming, and you make yourself ready to deal what's gonna go down. So he said to me, which is incredulous, "Sir, may I help you?" He saw me standing up there, you know, for 20 or 30 minutes. "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes." Gave him my name, and I'm here at Camp Lee for 8 weeks TDY for the finance course, prestigious course. So he said, "Well, you're not a member of the club. We can't serve you." I said, "Well, I'm gonna be here for 8 weeks, TDY." So we hemmed and hawed. I didn't blink, he didn't blink, we just stared at each other. And you know, sometimes when you stand up for the right, there's a reason for that saying. When you stand up the right, don't confront, just stand there, suck it up. So he acquiesced and he said, "I'll serve you, but I'm gonna put a screen around you." So they bought a screen around me. It was a very elegant Shoji screen. I must admit the screen was tasteful. But you know, I couldn't eat. My dignity and my self-respect would not let me pick up a fork for that food. And I'm saying this not out of bitterness, but I'm sharing this experience with you. So when you're denied something or whatever it is, don't bug out, don't fake out. Suck it up like I did. You're gonna have it, I'm gonna have it. So the point was, I didn't eat there anymore. I didn't go in the club. I'm non-confrontational. I don't argue. You don't want me, the hell with you. That's your loss. I'm going on, I'm moving on. You don't want me? It's not that I don't want you, but I'm not gonna hassle with you. I moved on. Now, where did I move? I didn't step foot in that club again, for any reason. Where did I eat? I had to eat. I couldn't eat at the enlisted mess. I ate at the snack bar. So whenever you invite me any place, Fran, don't offer me peanut butter, hot dogs, hamburgers. You know I'm done. I have a lot to say, but I can only say it within a limited time. So I'm going to leave with this one thought. You know, and this isn't a sermon, but I have to share what I've gone through because you want to know what I went through, I think. Now, last week, I was honored at Yale and so forth, and I was presenting my gold medal by G.W. Bush personally, both years. But what I've learned in life is that when you do the right thing and help others, we're here to help each other. And by helping each other, we help others. And by helping each others, we make what I consider why I'm here, to make myself a better person. Closing statement that I say everywhere, West Point, Annapolis, here it is. You can talk about me all you please, but I'll talk about you on my knees. Thank you.